Good evening, everyone. It is July 30th, 2025, 7 p.m. It's a meeting of the Sherborn Zoning Board of Appeals. Take attendance by roll. Mr. Hammond.
Here.
Mr. Fitch.
Present.
Mr. McBride is present, and it looks like Mr. Callahan and Mr. Lavie are not present, but I think they will be joining. So we will start anyway. First item on the agenda this evening, Jean, is the accessory garage. Is that right?
Yes.
And is the applicant here on behalf of that matter?
Yes, this is John Soglia.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Do you want to provide sort of a brief description of what you are asking from the board? I believe you're asking for a special permit for some extra garage spaces. Is that correct?
That is correct. So currently on my property, I have 2 garage spaces underneath my house. And I want to build a garage that has 2 additional. So this is a request for an additional garage space because I believe that 3 is the allowable limit. Yep.
Yeah. Anything more than 3 requires, I guess, a special permit. So do you happen to have any plans for us to share? Jean, do you have plans for us to share? It looks like Mr. Lavie has joined for the record.
Good evening.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Todd.
Hello.
I have some, John, if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I can give a brief overview as well, just to align the folks. So
Sure.
the garage is going to be it's a carriage. It's going to look like a carriage house. This is going to be in our front yard. I had it professionally surveyed and made sure that the setbacks were all appropriate. But I didn't want to have just a garage sitting in the front of my house. I'm a classic car collector and a sports car collector, and this is going to be, something that's actually nice to look at, not just a standard garage. It's got some nice accents on the gable end, both gable ends. So it is a 2-car garage, and that's its purpose. But it's also going to be aesthetically pleasing to maintain the aesthetics of the neighborhood.
And you said it's not in any of the setbacks, correct?
That is correct. So we made absolutely sure, we had a professional surveyor come in, so the plans actually reflect that it's completely far enough from the side setbacks and completely far enough from the front setbacks. Yeah, as you can see here. Yeah.
Great. Board members, any questions for John? Looks like a great structure.
Yeah, it's attractive. What is the purpose of the space over the garage? How are you going to use that?
That's just going to be for storage. So the entire garage is not going to be conditioned. The only thing it's going to have going into it is power. So the plans for that is just storage. Like I have, if you know my wife, we need extra space. Like we have some a shed that stores a bunch of stuff. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's getting kind of, fill up. So this is just going to be for storage. It's not going to be conditioned.
Okay. And obviously, just you're aware, if you ever wanted to rent that space, you'd have to come back for an additional special permit, I believe.
Certainly.
Yeah. Any other board members, any other questions?
Yeah, just a question from me. Sorry, I know I joined a minute late. So just for the record, if I could just get verbal confirmation from the applicant that no commercial activity is being conducted in this new space, it's entirely for your own personal use.
Yes, that is correct. This is not going to be for commercial. This is not going to be for business purposes. This is for my own personal. I'm in biotech, there's no reason why I would need to have any commercial commercial space on my property. It's really just to if anybody's interested in classic cars or sports cars, I have two of them, and they're going to be proudly stored in there. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it's a very aesthetically pleasing structure. So that'll
Thank you.
be a welcome addition. So I wish you well with it.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the board?
I have no further questions.
None from me.
Well, I would move to vote for a special permit for the additional garage, for the fourth, I guess, garage space, which this will provide for. Do I have a second for that motion?
I second that.
Great. Looks like we'll do a vote by roll for a special permit for Mr. Soglia's carriage house. Mr. Fitch,
Aye.
Mr. Labby,
Aye.
Mr. Hammond,
Aye.
Ms. McBride, aye, and I don't see Keith has joined, so looks like it passes unanimously. Congratulations and good luck. And I'm sure you'll be in touch with Chris. Jean will get the permit out to you in a week or two when I look at my email and get and approve it. So she's usually better than me, so don't get mad at her if it's late.
Thank you very much, everybody. Do you mind if I log off?
That sounds
Yep.
great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon, Jean.
All right, John.
Bye-bye.
Great. And I think the second matter before us is for an addition to an existing non-conforming structure. I believe that's you, Gabe, right? That's you and Abby. Yep.
Yes, that's right.
Jean, can you pull up the plans so they can
Yep.
sort of talk through what they are proposing? And just as a reminder to the new board members and John, Mr. Fitch, please correct me if I am misstating the law, but basically the standard that we need to apply here is that we can really only approve something that doesn't increase the nonconformity or expand the nonconformity. So that is sort of what we are. That's the standard in which we are working with here.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is if the addition would create a minor or insignificant difference, we can approve it. In fact, I think the court has said that applicant doesn't even need to apply in the case of a insignificant or small. I don't know. I haven't seen a design of this, so I can't.
John, do you know, down the rabbit hole, do you know what is considered insignificant? Is it as a matter of feet, inches, miles,
No, it's factually intensive. You
Yeah,
look
so-
at it,
it's one of those, yeah. So not so clear.
not so clear.
Great.
But in this case, the nonconformities are, the pre-existing nonconformities are with respect to the setback and the sidelines.
I believe that's the case. Is that right, Gabe?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
The right side of the house is, non-conforming. The front of the existing house is non-conforming, but the addition is further back than the existing house.
Jean, can you pull up the plot plan and zoom in on the setbacks? Possible.
Yeah, that's a good view of that right there.
And it looks like you are adding on in a direction that doesn't encroach further on the non-conforming setbacks. Is that right? You're
Yes. Our
that's in
property.
addition to the bottom of the screen here.
Yes. We're in like the front left corner of a rectangle, if you were to imagine that. And this
You're
has plenty of
you're-
space on the other side.
You're expanding into the bulk of your lot.
Exactly. Yep.
Board members, any questions on this proposal?
Well, I think that one of the things we need to find is that this addition will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the current existing conditions. Are there any neighbors or anybody here to speak or have questions about this? Oh,
Well, that makes it a little easier. I mean, from my perspective, this does not appear to be increasing the nonconformity or creating a detrimental condition in the neighborhood. Do I have a vote, a motion for a vote from any of the board members, unless there's any other questions or concerns?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to understand where we stand in terms of room count addition and applicability of septic standards. Is the septic being updated? Do they have the existing capacity in the system? Just have clarity on that.
I can speak to that. Yeah.
Please
We
do.
already overhauled our septic system in anticipation of this. We had to. The existing system was in direct line of this addition. That new system has already been installed and we are already using it under a temporary approval from the Board of Health. Just because we're not growing grass at the moment because we're about to do this addition. They're not going to, force us to grow grass just to rip it out again.
Good.
So we're already on the new system. The old system has been decommissioned. It's on a 4-bedroom septic now, and the room count is in conformant with that. We've already got approval from the Board of Health with that as well.
Outstanding. Very good.
great. Well, good luck with this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I will move for a finding that this proposed addition will not substantially will not cause any substantially more nonconformity or detrimental condition to the neighborhood. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Vote by roll. Mr. Fitch,
Aye.
Mr. Hammond,
Aye.
Mr. Labby,
Labby, aye.
McBride, aye. The finding passes. Good luck with the addition.
Thank you all so much.
Good luck to you.
We'll probably follow suit and drop then, put some kids to sleep.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll need that. All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a continuation of a hearing for a comprehensive permit for a affordable housing development on Washington Street. And I don't have that screen pulled up, so I'm not calling it out specifically well right now. But the applicant, Mr. Murchison, is here, and I believe we have a few items on the agenda. We are going to discuss some feedback from conservation, I believe, Board of Health. Is that right, Bob? I don't know if we have any Board of Health. We did have some Board of Health comments.
Well, the Board of Health, I believe, only submitted a report from Stantec, who acted as their agent when they approved the Title V septic system. You'll recall that we did it a little bit backwards, or we did the Title V septic approval in front of this coming to you all this time.
Yep, that's great. And I assume there's no more comments on that, so.
Yeah, well, so I believe when the Board of Health was asked for comments, Jeannie can correct me, but I believe the only thing that was submitted that I've seen at least is the analysis that was done by Tetra Tech back when we went through the process with Board of Health.
That's it.
So we'll be discussing conservation comments and the peer reviewer comments this evening. Is that what's on your mind, Bob?
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And I see that Michael Lesser is here. Michael, do we have to open a meeting for you for the Conservation Commission this evening?
No, you don't.
Okay. And are you here to speak on behalf of the comments you submitted, or would you like us to sort of go through them?
Well, it might be easiest just to walk through it. I mean, I
Yeah.
could do that. We walk through them and just see what works and doesn't work.
That sounds good.
And we tried to do it as very specific language about comments there. I could put it on the screen if you want, or.
Sure, that would be helpful.
That'd be helpful.
Okay.
Hmm.
To make sure I get the right thing here. Okay, this isn't the one I wanted to share because this is harder to see, but let's see. Okay. Is that all legible or readable, folks?
It is for me.
You could enlarge it a touch.
Let's see. How's that? You want more? How's that do for everybody?
That's good. Thank you.
I could certainly do more. The beginning part of the memo is just some background issues for us. I mean, we will also be seeing this under the a notice of intent from the applicant for under the State Wetland Protection Act. There's things that we can do under the local regulations that go a little bit more stringent, a little more protective than the state, and that's the issues that we try to identify here. And we, just to cut to the chase here, there is some, it's a little question why we do it here, that there's an area here, whether you can see my cursor going around, where there's not a lot of information at this point on the future landscape plan. The peer reviewer suggested or something about just where's the limit of lawn and things, but this is a little bit more detailed than that, about just understanding what alteration is going to go on in the buffer zone. The buffer zone is unaltered at the moment, and they're going to alter significant percentage parts of it. And so whether it would be useful for this comprehensive permit process to see what it is that they're actually doing in the buffer zone, or to some extent, we're going to get to do this as part of the notice of intent. So this is the first issue, is just whether the, whoops, sorry. Whether the applicant or the ZBA wants to see more details about what they're doing for landscaping and limit of lawn, which is the peer reviewer brings up part of that. So I'll stop there and see what the ZBA wants and what the applicant's willing to do.
Thanks, Michael. You've highlighted, just to clarify, you've highlighted sort of all of the areas of concern here. I think, the board will definitely consider some of these comments in our, I guess, to the extent that we are approving this and the conditions for the approval. Board members, do you have any specific questions on the comments submitted by the Conservation Commission, or anything Michael has described?
I mean, separate from the information need, there's whatever, about 6 or 7 or 8 specific conditions that we're requesting that goes through the comprehensive permit process. And whether, because some of this we cannot do under the state act. I mean, something we can do under the state, but for the most part, it's a little safer to do it at this stage.
Yeah.
Has the applicant commented on these?
I haven't seen any comments. Bob, did you submit anything? I
No,
haven't seen-
no, Jonathan, I've not commented, but I'm happy to probably in less than 5 minutes go through and make some comments tonight, if that would be helpful to the board.
Yes, it would be. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob, if you could sort of let us know where you obviously substantially disagree, that would probably be the areas to focus on
Sure.
for us. If you agree on things, obviously that's easy for everyone, but
Yeah, so I guess I won't really, Michael's kind of first half of his comments were not really very specific. They were kind of, broad concerns about development. Generally, they weren't specific
Oh, yeah,
concerns.
the issue is just what I show on the screen here is the beginning of the specific conditions that we're requesting that we could just.
Yeah, no, and sorry, and that's what I'm going to comment on.
Yeah, exactly, but we could just walk through it as you said.
Yeah, so what I would say, there was one thing that I thought was a little bit confusing for the board. Michael mentions a 125-foot setback. And that is a Board of Health regulation, and it's a setback from a septic field to a wetland. And that is not a Conservation Commission setback. The Conservation Commission setback, as I understand them, the local Conservation Commission setback is 100 feet. They've got an outer buffer zone from 50 to 100, which is where Michael's correct. We are doing a fair amount of work in the 50 to 100-foot zone. We are not doing any work inside of the 50-foot zone, which is where I believe the Wetlands Protection Act kind of comes into play, is at 50 feet or inside. So it is that kind of 50 to 100 generally where we are operating. So if we flip down to the request that the Conservation Commission has made for the project under the local regulations. Number one, it's at the bottom of the second page. Number one is wetland markers, and they're asking for, and these are conditions they'd like you to put on the project.
Right.
They're asking for 8 concrete monuments with wetland plaques. I'm not averse to providing these markers. I'm a little bit averse, to be honest, and it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything else. I'm a little bit averse to concrete, like big concrete.
You can put it on whatever you want. We can.
Yeah. I just think aesthetically, but I have
Oh,
no
yeah.
aversion to the markers, so I think we're
We
good on
can
the
make
markers.
it, we can make it something that's
Yeah.
generalized.
Number 2, fertilizers and pesticides. I am agreeable to that. This board and Michael has heard me many times say I don't like them, don't use them. And because this is in what I sometimes object to is being told that you can't use them outside the buffer zone. And as long as this is a request that we not use them in the buffer zone, I find that to be an acceptable
Yeah,
condition.
that's outside of our jurisdiction. We've never asked for that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we're on the same page on number 1 and number 2. De-icing chemicals, again, within the buffer zone, I am fine with, I believe it's typically magnesium chloride that's used. And to be honest, I'd like to see the town follow its own requirements in that at Route 16, within feet of the wetlands, the town uses sodium chloride. And in that same exact place, this project, you're asking me to use a much more expensive de-icing material. I'm accepting of it. I guess I'm just kind of saying that why shouldn't it also be good for the town to use that in
Agreed.
close to buffers or close to wetlands? But I am accepting of that. So 1, 2, and 3, I'm agreeable. Number 4, that is something I can also agree with. I'd like there's one part of it that I find is kind of unwieldy and difficult, and that is the advanced timing of the notification. I'm fine of the notification, and I'm fine with the testing that they've asked for. But to do it kind of at least 1 week prior, I think is unnecessary and in the reality of building things is quite difficult. So I'd like to ask the board to put a much shorter time frame on the notice and and that, but otherwise I'm agreeable to that
What sort
condition.
of notice would you find more workable?
I mean, I would think 24 or 48 hours would be workable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see what the benefit is in, a much longer
Oh,
notice
the
period.
benefit of some reason that the results, somehow something slipped through and the results are not appropriate, that it wouldn't be already dumped on there and said, "Oops, this is wrong." It's a matter of just heading off a problem. And then also giving us a moment or two, and then the last minute to have to review the reports. So that's why a week or 5 business days, some number of that more than 24 or 48 hours would be would help. I would think
Right.
would help you as well to avoid, in case there's a mistake, because that would be quite a
Yeah.
costly.
I guess I'm just saying it's a very unwieldy time frame for construction people. It's
Yes.
not a big deal to me, but for the guys out there actually doing the work, it's very difficult, that kind of time frame.
I guess
Because
we should-
oftentimes Phil becomes available on very short notice. And anyway, I don't think we need to debate it any further. But again, so that's the first four I'm in agreement on, with a what I think is a modest change in number four in terms of the timing. Number five, again, we've argued about this so many times. This is not in the Conservation Commission regulations, and I'm not going to do it, but I really don't understand why, if I build something at my house, I can do it, but on a affordable housing project, I can't. Doesn't feel right.
no,
I'm
that's
not,
not-
as a practical matter, I'm not going to do it, but I don't like adding
That is,
regulations.
it has nothing to do with the 40B. We apply the same condition to ordinary housing as well. So there's nothing special to affordable. It's just whenever the driveways and that are paved are in our jurisdiction, or they drain into our jurisdiction, the coal tar based, which is often can be avoided, is hundreds times more toxic than the standard asphalt based. So therefore, I would say, even though you would probably follow this, I think it's something that the town should do as a whole. But we
But
can,
we don't have that rule.
yes, but we do it for all the projects now that we're aware of this issue. We do it for all projects, affordable and regular housing. This is a standard condition now for anything that falls with any driveways that fall within our jurisdiction. So I could send information to the ZBA about the extreme toxicity of the coal tar based ones. And you can reflect on that.
Yeah,
compared to
I vaguely recollect in my very, very long order of conditions myself that this was a condition in mine. So unfortunately, I have to say I don't think it's limited to 40B, because I think it's a condition in mine as well. So
I mean, I think it's good for the town, but
Yeah.
until we get the town to do it, we can do it within our jurisdiction, because it's obviously stuff straight. There's a lot of toxic material, hydrocarbons coming off of it that we don't want in the groundwater, and given the proximity to the wetlands here, that I think it's a reasonable thing. But I'll send some simple little article to talk about the differences, and you guys can work that out.
So I
thank-
think we're in agreement on the first five. Exterior lighting. I'm not big on exterior lighting except for public safety. I don't think we're gonna have any other than a back porch light on one of the houses, which is in the buffer zone. The other house is completely out of the buffer zone. Other than a light on the back porch of one of the houses, I don't anticipate a lot of exterior lighting. Like I said, I'm not big on it myself, so I guess I'm fine with that. I hope the board will kind of stick to kind of Concom jurisdiction in that condition, but I'm not opposed to it. Number 7, stormwater management. I think we're doing everything that is talked about in the in Michael's number 7. So I'm not sure that needs to be a condition. I think that's all, we've proposed what we've proposed, right? So,
Well, I guess I'm not quite sure. I guess I haven't looked at or not sure. We close enough at the plans to see where the outlets are and to what extent they could, I mean, the peer review talks about doing some testing of what the
yeah, I'm
drive-
happy to address the peer
handle,
review. I'm
and,
happy to address the peer review when we get there.
yeah, I mean, the 1 inch of rainfall is, I mean, normally, right, we wouldn't, the fact that it's the proximity and I can't remember where the outlets are going from the stormwater in case there's overflow.
Yeah.
Where that is, because given the severity of some storms, but we're just sort
Yeah,
of,
as I said, we had an engineer design it, and Tetra Tech has reviewed it and made comments. And I'm happy to work through all of that.
okay, well, I'd appreciate if Tetra Tech would look at this, our comment, and specifically to see how well it's addressed. If that's possible. I guess, I'm sorry, I'm talking without going through the chair all the time. But whether that's something that could be put forth to Tetra Tech for their consideration.
And number 8 is a restoration and mitigation planting. And I think I'm very happy to have that conversation. And we'll get to the peer review comments about showing the limits. And I think Michael also mentioned that we can absolutely show the limits of activity on the plan, and we'll add that to the next iteration of the plan. And I guess what I would say about the restoration and mitigation planting, I'm not averse to it. I am averse to something that is, significantly an economic burden on the project. But I would be more than happy to entertain some type of conceptual mitigation plantings if Michael and or the commission would like to give me some idea of what they're looking for. It's a little hard for me to guess at what that would look like. But I mean, the area of impact, like I said, we will demarcate better than it sort of is obvious on the plan what where we're impacting and where we're not. But I agree it should be shown more specifically on the plan, and we'll do that. But that area is kind of, available to look at, and I'd be happy to entertain a concept from the commission to do some mitigation planting. As I said, this is an affordable housing project, and it needs to not be burdened in significant economic ways. But I'm more than happy to work with the commission to come up with a mutually agreeable plan.
Yeah,
So I think I just agreed with everything. That's hard for me to believe.
it's all right. We try to be practical. And yeah, I mean, in terms of that last issue, I mean, there's the limit of work of the project itself, but then it's then what is going to be the final bit of landscaped or lawn area. So that's two different.
Well, I would honestly, Mike, yeah, I can answer that. It's my sense that the limit of work and kind of the areas that will be what I'll call, landscaped, so to speak, right? I think the limit of work and the limit of landscape is going to look fairly similar
Yeah, well, just
in
be
this,
important to
on this
know whether
project.
it
That's
might
not
be-
always the case, obviously.
Oh, yeah, no, that's why. it'd be
I'm
nice
sorry, I'm
to
having
just
trouble.
know that.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Michael.
Oh, okay, yeah, that, it would be nice to know exactly what that is on a plan, as well as how much tree cutting is going on, because there's areas that will be disturbed, but then not like around the septic area, like in terms of that whole limit of work around there, and then what will be restored back and how that will be restored to the extent possible. Those kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
parameters would be useful.
what I can tell you about that is, as I said, if you look at the plan, it's fairly obvious today, but like I said, we'll make it more clear. And really, we're talking about in the back, right, of the homes, in the back and where the septic system is. And obviously, a lot of that area does need to be cleared and graded. Where we can save some trees, absolutely. It's to as I always say, it's to our benefit as much as it is to everyone's benefit to save trees, and we will work on that. You can't always know in advance until you get out there and you start to do the work, exactly which trees are going to get saved and which aren't. And in some ways, you save more by being, uh, fleet-footed, so to speak, and kind of, I was over on Farm Road the other day, and there were trees that Concom approved for us to cut down, and I realized, oh, geez, we can actually save that tree, and we did. And so I anticipate that, we won't cut down every tree in the limit of work area to the extent that's possible. That's the goal.
But
It's
as
better
we
to have
do,
mature trees around, not hanging over a house, of course. But generally, it's better to have some nice mature trees in the backyard.
oh, yeah, as we've done in other projects and all of our projects, it's no, I mean, whether here or there, later, it's a matter of identifying all the trees that might potentially be cut so we can see what that looks like. So that's a
So
that's
I
a
think
standard
we're-
process issue.
I
So
think we're
mark
more or
that.
less in agreement. This idea of going out and counting every last tree is not something that's in the Wetlands Protection Act. And that's not something I think is necessary in this case. I think we can see the area that we're operating in. I think you can see the area we're operating in. It's not heavily wooded. I think that we can come up with a mitigation plan without getting into, that level of detail, which is not required under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Well, I'm not saying it's, well, we might differ on that as to whether it's required or it's just an option to pursue under the Wetland Protection Act, because it is a significant impact in the buffer zone. So.
In the outer buffer zone, correct.
Or even in the inner buffer zone, you're gonna be cutting down a lot of stuff because there's some grading, I think, goes beyond, I can't remember, but.
No.
There's no grading that
There
goes,
is no activity in the inner buffer zone.
okay.
Michael, I worked very hard
I
to be
appreciate
able,
that.
I
No,
worked very hard to
recognize-
be able to say that.
Yes, I know
And
that you do that. Okay,
And just so we're clear, the inner buffer zone is a 0 to 100 to 50 feet away, right?
right.
Correct,
The
correct.
You
jurisdiction.
know, I recall now that you've been very good about that in a number of your projects. So,
Yep.
so-
Well, I'm often very good about staying out of even the 100 when I can, but in this
yeah.
case, that just was not possible, so.
Right. Okay, well, we'll see.
So I think, surprisingly to maybe perhaps both Michael and myself, we're in pretty good shape on these requests.
Okay, good.
That's great.
You're done with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, is there anything else you have to comment on or you'd like to share before we move on?
No, I mean, we tried to be concise and put it all into conditions despite the a lot of introductory stuff, but we wanted to be practical for you guys as well as yourselves.
We appreciate the brevity and directness. So very helpful. Thank you for you and your board's time putting this together.
Okay,
And Bob, I think what's next? I think we'll let Steve Booley talk from Tetra Tech, and then if you want to sort of talk about your responses to that if that works for you.
Sure. Yeah, I've kind of teed up a lot of comments, and we're also not on a terribly different page with Steve, which is good.
Saw that
But
earlier.
I can discuss kind of the details of where we're in a slightly different place.
Great. Steve, are you available?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for your review of this project. We received your comments, I think, late last week or early this week. And they were pretty clear to me, but if you want to run through them quickly for the rest of the board and the public, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. I'll pull up the letter here. Can everyone see the letter?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so on this project, we reviewed site design and stormwater. Obviously, it's a relatively small project, but you know, there were some comments that we had. You know, we generally started with the entrance driveway and kind of worked our way up through the site in the review. The first comment is related to the driveway slope coming in. It's pretty steep, you know, for the first 150 feet or so. I saw Bob's comment related to you know, the first, I believe, 30 feet of it, which is around 3%. So we'll have a discussion on that, but you know, I just wanted to note it for the board's consideration. It is a steep road for that, you know, that first 150 feet. There is, you know, there's pretty steep slopes on either side of the driveway going up. So we recommended either guardrail or some other acceptable protection, you know, along the driveway to make sure, you know, a driver doesn't drive into the basin or, you know, off the side slope. The driveway is 15 feet wide. You know, generally it's 20 for NFPA. I don't know if the Sherborn Fire Department's reviewed this yet. You know, this is a quasi, you know, common driveway almost, so I'm not sure if it applies, but certainly would like to get fire department's input on the access driveway. And then site distances at the actual intersection. We're looking to have those added to the plan, and then if there's any required, you know, vegetation management or anything else that may impede site distances up and down the road at you know, that would be beneficial, certainly for safety's sake. We had asked to show the zoning setbacks. I believe Bob had mentioned that they were on the plan. I missed that in the submission, but we'll re-review that one in the new submission. We had asked, you know, to provide all the utilities leading to the project. I didn't see electric or anything on the plan, so you know, we had asked to have that added, as well as, you know, details on, you know, trash and mail service to the project. Just, you know, if there was going to be a kiosk or if it was going to be direct service to the homes themselves. And then, as discussed, you know, we asked for the the limit of tree clearing. You know, we assume it's probably the erosion control limit, but just to be clear, we'd ask that to be shown on the plan. You know, a cut fill analysis, you know, if there's thousands of yards of fill coming in, does look like there's a lot of fill coming in for the project. So just want to have I think the board would want to see a better understanding of how much material is coming in there and whether a construction management plan is, you know, certainly recommended for that, showing truck routes and things of that nature. You know, as we just discussed, the projects within jurisdiction of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. You know, it's expected the applicant will be going to Conservation Commission for approval at the state level for the DEP regs. And then grading work, it looked like there was some grading within 100 feet of the vernal pool and isolated wetland. At I guess that's the west side of the site. So just wanted some additional, you know, if there had to be a waiver for, I believe there was a waiver from the local wetlands bylaw. But, you know, presumably by extension, the regulations would be associated with that. So certainly up for discussion. And then the trail easement, there were some modifications to the trail easement. We just asked if if there's any language in there that may limit that, or just confirmation about, if that can be moved. And I believe Bob responded to that in his email today. On the stormwater front, the DEP standards aren't applicable to this project because it's for fewer lots. And it's not a I'm losing it. Just lost it.
Public water supply.
Yeah, it's not a critical area, sorry. So there's no critical areas around the site. So the standards aren't applicable. So, we had a few comments just generally, which is good general practice for stormwater designs. The proposed recharger 1 and the rain garden are within 100 feet of the proposed well. So we had asked that try to maintain that offset as much as possible to maintain good water quality at the well that's going to be serving the residences. And as always with any infiltration structure, we like to see test pitting done at the location of the structure, just to confirm soil texture and estimated seasonal high groundwater elevation. And that's just to confirm really if they're will be operational and whether there's any impact to the groundwater near those structures. There is a trench drain located at the bottom of the driveway. We asked that a manhole with a sump and hood be installed on the downstream end of it, just to capture any sediment and hydrocarbons that may enter that system, to help protect the health of the BMP plus the groundwater in that area. And then it appeared, the project's going to require NIPD's construction general permit, as it is greater than an acre. So we just recommended a condition be added just to show proof of coverage prior to construction. And that's all I have.
You're muted, Zach.
So thanks, Steve. And Bob, I see you already provided some responses in writing, but if you want to sort of run through for the rest.
Sure, I can make it fairly quick. I think in some ways we're in a good place with Steve's comments pretty much across the board, with the exception actually of the first comment. So I don't want to come off as being negative on everything. We're not. We're very agreeable on almost everything, but we don't agree on the first comment. So the proposed driveway grade, what Steve says is the proposed driveway grade at the intersection is approximately 6.5% for first 150 feet, which is correct. And I've looked at this based on Steve's comments with the engineer. And so a couple of things. I guess I would say the current design almost, and we can tweak it so it actually does. So don't take me literally at my word here, but we can tweak it so that it is compliant with the Sherborn driveway design standards, which are frankly often waived in part by Sean. But in this case, we can meet that standard, which is to have 30 feet at less than the first 30 feet off of the road at less than 2% grade. And I think, Steve, you said it's closer to 3, but we can tweak that and get that so that it's less than 2 for the 30 feet and meet the Sherborn driveway design standard. I think it's kind of I don't want to say unreasonable, because Steve is not an unreasonable guy, but to ask us to meet subdivision regulations for two duplexes, I don't think makes sense. And really, the reason we're pushing back on it is that it's ultimately going to change that driveway in a way that would lower the house grade by about 3 feet. And we don't want to do that. That's just potentially creates a mess up at the top of the hill. And, you know, this driveway is a very, very comfortable and very, very typical Sherborn driveway. Like I said, it meets all of the standards of the driveway design rules put out by the town. Steve's right, it doesn't meet the standards of the subdivision regulations, but I think honestly those are inappropriate for a project of this scale. And I'll note that we put the driveway where we did because it meant that there would be the least amount possible of asphalt in the buffer zones, in the Concom buffer zones. We originally had a design which brought the driveway around behind the houses, but what we realized is we were putting a lot of driveway in the buffer zone. We decided that, you know, the trade-off was good to put it where we put it. So, you know, I think it's a good design. It's not a subdivision regulation design, you know, I've spoken to both Sean and with Zach, who I'll talk about his comments later on when we get to that point. But I've spoken to both Sean and Zach about this driveway design, and I think they're both very, very comfortable with it. And I don't know if Sean, you want to make a comment or not, but you know, I am pushing back on this one. But like I said, I'm going to be agreeable on the rest. Sean, do you want to comment or no?
I can. I'm much more interested in the first 30 feet. We do waive that often. Where the grades just don't allow it, but that's advisable, especially pulling onto Route 16. You wouldn't want to come in too steep. The rest of the site, there's a lot of homes in town with the 4, 5, 6, 7% grades that nobody really bats an eye at. Certainly anyone in Bob's neighborhood near the pond has far more than that.
I was just gonna ask what the driveway was behind your neighbor.
Across the street from me are a couple of vertical driveways.
Yeah, substantially more.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be a tough sell, but you know, I don't think 3 to 6% is gonna be a big deal. So
I think
board
Michael
members,
has a question. Zach, do you want to take that before I go on, or how do you want to handle it?
yeah, Michael, do you have a question?
Well, I guess you can go on, Bob. I couldn't tell if you were finished with going over their comments.
Well, I was going on to the next comment, but if you have
Okay,
something on this one, I'm happy.
Well, no. It's just a few different issues on the.
Okay, we'll wait till the end then if you prefer, Michael.
Okay, sure. You can finish, Bob.
Sure. So number 2, the guardrail, I'm proposing, this is more aesthetic than anything else. And it's also, honestly, I don't think it's just me. I think even engineers have a hard time really visualizing something that's a risk versus not. And what I would propose is that there be a condition that I use some 3-foot boulders in the areas that need protection. It's aesthetically much more pleasing than a guardrail. And it can do, you know, you bury them. I think it can do the job, and I would propose that condition if that works for the board. And I think Steve's okay with that, but I'll let him speak for himself. Number 3, this is about the width of the driveway. Completely agree with Steve's comment there. It's really Zach's call. I have spoken to Zach over the last couple of days, and he's asked if he could have a few more days to consider whether he's okay at 15 or he wants something as large as 20 feet wide. And I am more than happy to comply with his wishes. Public safety is important, and we're going to do whatever is required to have it be safe for the folks who live there. So if the board is okay, we'll just wait on that issue and then come back and speak to it once Zach has had a chance. Zach Ward has had a chance. Chief Ward has had a chance to review it further. Um, let's see, number 4, the site distance, absolutely. We will do that in our next revision. We'll provide those site distances. I can tell you that Washington Street, Route 16 is extremely straight in front of all of this property. And so I think the sight lines are going to be pretty good, but I'm more than happy to do that for the board. The zoning setbacks, as Steve noted, they are shown on page 5 of the PDF of the plan. It's called the layout plan. And we're not requesting any variant, or excuse me, any waivers from the front, side, or back setbacks under the zoning rules. We're in good shape on that. We will add the electric and telecom. I don't believe there's gas in the street in that part of Washington Street, but we will add the electric and the data lines and how they come onto the property to the next revision of the plan. Mail and packages, I would want to be delivered to the buildings. Obviously, we have to speak with the post office about that, but generally, the post office does come onto common driveways. So assuming that's the case, I would prefer not to put a kiosk down at Washington Street. It's not a good place, for people for delivery trucks to stop, or for residents to come down and be dealing with things right on Washington Street. So, and then trash removal, as we all know, is private in Sherborn, and folks can take their trash to the transfer station, or Rowan or someone else can come to the home and pick it up. That's really a private matter in Sherborn. The cut fill analysis, we're happy to provide that on the revised site plan. He talks about the project scope within the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. We completely agree with that and understand we'll be, once the comprehensive permit process is complete, we'll be in front of the Conservation Commission under the Wetlands Protection Act for review under the Wetlands Protection Act. Grading work is proposed within 100 feet of a vernal pool. That is correct. It's a very small amount of area I believe, and don't hold me to these exact numbers, but I did a little bit of a takeoff, and I think we're about 1,000 square feet in the buffer zone to the vernal pool. I'll also note, and Michael will, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I do not believe that vernal pool is something that's mentioned in the local regulations, and I believe it's just regulated as any other type of BVW wetland.
Correct.
I'm not seeing Michael shake his head aggressively, so I'm going to assume that I'm correct on that, and he'll, I'm sure, clarify something for us. Let's see. The modifications to the existing trail easement. If you want some detail, we can have Paul Haverty make a comment on that. But there's substantial case law which allows the owner of a property to move the trail. In this case, it's something that the people who use the trail will like. It moves it a little bit further away from buildings, and it moves it through a flatter area rather than going up and over the septic system the way it would be if we left it there. Also, the Board of Health was not happy with having it go up and over the septic system. So there's really no change in what I'll call the usability or attractiveness of the trail being moved from one place to another, as you can see on the plan. Let's see. So moving on to stormwater. So the first comment, Steve noted that that the Mass Stormwater Handbook is not applicable for a project of this scale. And he does note a 100-foot setback to a well. in that handbook. Because he made that comment, we're happy to, and I think we've identified a way that we can make the distance from the well to the two stormwater components, the rain garden and the recharger. I believe we can move the recharger a bit to the west, but we need to maintain the proper distance to the septic field. And I believe if we do that, we can have the well be about 75 feet, kind of in between both of the components of the stormwater system. So we can achieve 75 feet. The other option would be to move that well kind of over toward Washington Street, but I am not inclined to want to put the well closer to Washington Street. I mean, a lot of wells in Sherborn that are close to main roads like that can have issues with sodium because of the previously mentioned road salt that's used by the town, particularly on a big road like Washington Street. So I'm not inclined. I think you end up putting the well at more risk by moving it closer to Washington Street to get further away from the stormwater recharge areas. But so that's what we came up with as an improvement based on Steve's comments, but it doesn't get us all the way to meeting the Mass handbook standard. With regard to the testing at the infiltration area, we have a lot of testing on the site. We have a test hole as close as about 30 feet from the rain garden. But what I would propose is that we can poke some holes when we get on the site before we build it, and just make sure it's going to work properly, as Steve said. That's what I would propose as a condition. Steve asked that that we include a manhole with a sump and a hood downstream of the proposed trench drain. We agree with that. Think it's a good idea from Steve, and we'll make the change on the revised plan. And then lastly, the SWIP condition about SWIP, to the extent we are in jurisdiction for that with our work, which I expect that we will be, then I have no objection to the condition. You're really just conditioning that I follow the law. So it's hard for me to complain about that type of condition. And that covers it. Happy to take questions. But I think again, we're in the grade at Steve. Effectively, Steve wants a less steep grade for a much longer distance than we're proposing.
Thank you, Bob. I see two hands raised. So Michael, yours was up first, and then I see Marion will go to her next. So Michael, do you
Sure.
have any comments?
A couple of I guess I'll speak as just a regular resident, Michael Lesser, 54 Forest Street. The town does not have appropriate, I think, regulations about fill, other than what we have, what's under the bylaw regulations for the wetlands protection. As I've done before the ZBA, I suggest you consider applying the similar kind of whatever regulation you put about the quality of the fill, that you apply that to all the fill on the site. I think everybody would be happier knowing the quality of the fill is appropriate, and especially in terms of what can get into the groundwater. So that's something for the ZBA to decide about. I can't remember if you've done it in the past. It's I think something that it's a gap in the in some, whether it's the building or whatever, code or whatever. So that's one thing that suggest. Putting back on my Conservation Commission hat. I guess, I don't know what the issue for, maybe it's for Steve, right now, the overflow for now that I'm looking at the plan for the stormwater management there is in the outer buffer zone, and I mean, it's off of the 50-foot area, but we're concerned about whether that should be, I mean, we suggest a specific number of a 1-inch storm should be handled by the capacity of that dry well, or whatever it's called, and whether that's something that, to be more specific, because I don't think I saw in the peer review anything as specific about what the capacity of that is, or whether it's somewhere in the plans that I just haven't had the time to look at.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is Steve Boulay, Tetra Tech. The calculation for the 1-inch runoff was included on the plans on sheet C8.
And so basically what you're asking is that they do the soil testing there to make sure that that capacity is really there at that particular place where they're putting in the dry well. Is that
Well,
your?
yeah, they have the volume. It's just a means of, if there's poor soils down there and this thing isn't going to recharge, then we'd want to know that.
Right, that's what my concern would be, especially since it's in the buffer zone. And even though it doesn't have to deal with the stormwater standards, it would be appropriate not to have any, I mean, whether there's erosion that comes out, if it's inadequate and we have bigger storms, whether we have any erosion coming out of the outfall for that. And we were trying to see whether you can move, I don't know whether you can move the outfall further away from the wetlands, whether that's something that is possible. That's an issue for the applicant, whether they can move that further back. So that's my other question.
Yeah, I'll certainly defer to Bob on that, but yeah, I mean, the both outfalls are on the downhill side of the basins. But Bob can certainly talk with his engineers, see if they could possibly move it farther away, but we didn't get runoff, the discharge rates from the basin, but I wouldn't expect it to be too high based on what's out there and proposed.
Yeah, no, it's only a matter, well, I don't know if it's too high, but I mean, if there's a 2-inch storm, which we occasionally do have, then there certainly would be an overflow. It's just a matter of whether they can handle that, in terms of without creating scouring and erosion, in the buffer zone. But that's something that the CBA can decide whether they want to have a little better stormwater or not, or clearly more defined issue of that it can handle that, or that there won't be erosion. That would be appreciated.
Thank you, Michael. Board members, any other questions or comments on these topics before I go to Marion and her comment or question?
I don't have any, thank you.
Thank you. Marion, I see your hand was raised, so.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. Bob, you'll be happy to know this is not a bylaw or regulation question at all. When you were discussing the intersection of the driveway with the road, I was reminded of a point that we made in our select board letter to Mass Housing, basically pointing out that the residents here in this development, as everybody along Washington Street, no different here, but especially here, have no easy access for, say, if they're kids or even adults living here. There's no easy way to get out of the development except for by car. And there is that road, that trail easement that comes out, I think, quite close to the intersection of Old Orchard Road.
Correct. Yes.
I don't have the picture in front of me, so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
I would say where that trail comes out, Marion, is probably about 50 to 75 feet to the trail is 50 to 75 feet to the east of Old Orchard. So it's not like you come out and you're crossing right to Old Orchard, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, and that's not your fault. That's the way
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
But keeping the future residents of these of this development in mind, if there's an opportunity here, and I know we can't require it, but if there is an opportunity to provide some kind of a crosswalk that allows people to cross Route 16 there relatively safely, more safely than they do now, like a crosswalk with maybe a pedestrian activated light or something, or even just a crosswalk, so people can get out of the development to a place where they can walk, like Old
I,
Orchard
I, I
Road.
think, I think, Marion, it's a great idea. I don't think it's something that I would be able to accomplish. I think Sean is on the call and he might be able to speak to that possibility.
Well, I'm looking to see whether any modification of the front, border of your plan as it borders Route 16 could be made more could allow that trail or the driveway or whatever to make it easier for people to reach a crosswalk area. And yeah, maybe that's up to the town to make a crosswalk there. But I would like to just kind of see a concept of how that might be done, just for the benefit of the people who are going to live there.
I mean, are you suggesting a change in the driveway or?
No, just a pedestrian route, a safe pedestrian route
Yeah.
to a
No, I mean,
cross.
I totally hear what you're saying and
Just something to think
I
about.
generally think it's a good idea. I just don't think it's something that has much to do with me.
Unless there is some walkway on your property that would facilitate that.
Well, one of the things potentially we could do as I look at it is, subject to the Conservation Commission allowing us to put in a little bit of a trail down from the front of the houses yeah, well, I mean, the fact is that the trail will be on their property over next to the septic field, right? Which is not very far from the house. And then they can get on that trail and walk down. That's about the only way I see people getting on, down. And as we just discussed, it's not the best place to cross Washington Street, but it's certainly better than crossing down where our driveway comes in.
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay, it's just something to think about. If you see an opportunity there, it would be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Daryl, I see your hand's raised. Would you like to speak?
Yes. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to mention that, as you've discussed earlier, that you're aware that we approved per Title V only thus far the septic system. And as Bob highlighted, we did request and they did comply with moving the trail, because to have it go up and over the septic system would risk damaging the septic system potentially. The other thing is the board will be discussing whether and what recommendations we might want to make to the ZBA at its August 20th meeting. So we should have something for you after that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daryl. Board members, any other questions, comments for the applicant or any of the commenters?
I don't have any. Thank you.
No, nothing from me.
Thank you. Bob, I think we've hit the agenda items for the evening, unless there's something else
No,
you have in mind you'd like to discuss. I think we have to probably discuss a date to continue.
Sure.
That's right. So
please. Yeah.
Daryl mentioned an August 20th meeting for use. Does the ZBA have a meeting already scheduled, or I don't know if I misheard you, Daryl?
You do not have anything scheduled.
Okay. So I think the Board of Health was gonna have comments on August 20th is what I heard from Daryl. So should we meet a little bit after that, Bob, or do you want to meet before and tackle anything?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to meet before that. I'm not, I was hoping that the Board of Health was, as you know, going to have comments tonight. But
Are there any other substantive areas you would like to address?
well, I guess I would say no, but I mean, if there are substantive areas that are of concern to the board, I want to obviously address them as quickly as I can. But I'm happy to meet like perhaps the Thursday, the 21st, maybe that keeps us kind of on a pace.
Yeah.
But it's up to you, of course.
No, I mean, that makes sense unless there's something else you want to tackle ahead of time. Daryl, I see your hand is raised. Feel free to jump in on the timing here.
No, I was just gonna say, sorry, we had planned to discuss this originally. I had planned that the Board of Health would have discussed it at our July 16th meeting, but at the last CBA meeting on this, you mentioned that you were going to have a meeting on the 16th. Therefore, and we knew we needed to meet with Bob. And then our schedule filled up by the time I learned that you had moved your meeting to tonight. So it just wasn't possible to add it after I learned that. So sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. I think we're moving along pretty quickly here anyway. So I think we'll the 21st, I think looks good from my perspective. Board members, does that work for you at 7 p.m.? No for Jonathan, it looks like.
No, it doesn't. I have a conflict at that time.
Yeah, that week doesn't work for me either, Mr. Chair. I'll be traveling.
Week after.
The week after works for me, not Wednesday, but Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday does work for me, if that matters.
Any of those dates work for me.
Sorry, what are those dates we're looking at here?
25th, 26th, and 28th, correct, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, any of those work for me.
Jonathan, either Jonathan. Any objections to those dates?
Well,
I prefer the 28th if possible.
That was my fault. I called you both at the same time. So, Mr. Fitch.
Jonathan.
The 25th, Monday, the 25th of August works for me.
Okay. John Hammond, does that work for you? No.
No, the 28th works for me. The other 3 days I'm out of touch.
And Jonathan, what's the 28th is out for you, Jonathan Fitch?
Yes. The 28th. Well, I can do the 28th. I have an arbitration hearing that day that'll be over by the time this beginning.
Hopefully it'll be a light lift.
Yeah.
And a wrap up. Dan, I see your hand is raised.
Hey, no, not that it's a constraining factor, but there is a select board meeting scheduled for that evening at that time, just for
The 28th at 7.
Yeah, just for information.
Do you have any objection to us holding a meeting to discuss Board of Health comments? Obviously, I know sometimes you all want to join, but we won't be in a deliberation phase at that point.
I don't have, this is just speaking for myself. I don't have any particular objection, just as a general policy, prefer to, as you said, it can be helpful to be able to listen and participate in other meetings. So no particular objection, just, the general thought.
Okay. I think we'll move to the 28th at 7. I move to continue this hearing for the comprehensive permit in Washington Street to the 28th at 7 p.m. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Vote by roll. Mr. Fitch.
Aye.
Mr. Hammond.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
McBride, aye. We will meet on the 28th at 7 to continue this hearing. And we have one more matter tonight, which is to vote on, oh, sorry.
Sorry, Zach, could I just ask if the Board of Health is going to make written comments, which I'm assuming that they'll want to do that, if those could be provided perhaps by Monday of that week? Is that a reasonable request on my part? They meet,
I think so, but I don't have any jurisdiction to force
they
anything.
meet,
so-
well, they meet on Wednesday, and, you know, we're meeting on Thursday. I'm just asking for, you know,
Yeah.
3 or 4 days, not 20 minutes, to review the comments in advance of the meeting and be able to speak intelligently to them.
We will try to get it out as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Zach.
Great. We have one more administrative matter to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which I don't remember the date, but we should pull that up.
June 30th.
30.
I have reviewed the minutes. I hope you all have. I'm going to move to approve the minutes unless there's any objections. Any objections from the board on approving the minutes from the June 30th meeting? Great. I move to approve the minutes from the June 30th meeting as circulated to the board earlier. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Vote by roll, Mr. Fitch,
Aye.
Mr. Hammond,
Aye.
Mr. Labby,
Aye.
Mr. McBride, aye. Minutes approved. And finally, I think you're all happy to be done this evening. I know Jonathan has something to go to, so I will move to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Thank you, Zach.
I'll take that as a second. Vote by roll, Mr. Fitch,
Aye.
Mr. Hammond,
Aye.
Mr. Labby,
Aye.
Bright, aye. Meeting is adjourned. See you all on the 28th.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve.
Thank you.